souhaitez accomplir lors de votre voyage au Mexique?
C'est une relation très importante pour le Canada, pour le Mexique, et c'est la chance d'avoir des discussions très compréhensibles avec Madame la Présidente.
Est-ce qu'on peut s'attendre à des ententes commerciales signées dès ce voyage pour augmenter les échanges commerciaux avec le Mexique?
Il y a beaucoup d'aspects de les relations en sécurité, oui, les relations commerciales, y compris de la santé, tout cela, tout est sur la table.
In English?
I'm looking forward to very comprehensive discussions with the Mexican President. It's a great opportunity to get into depth on a wide range of issues. Thank you very much.
Sur les cibles de réduction des gaz à effet de serre de 2030-2035, est-ce qu'on les considère les abandonner?
Qu'est-ce que moi je dis à chaque fois, c'est qu'on travaille pour réduire nos émissions à effet de serre au Canada. C'est très important, et quand on parle de comment on va bâtir un Canada fort et un Canada pour les générations du futur, ça veut dire qu'on doit protéger l'environnement aussi.
Les îles en Colombie-Britannique qui a été adopté aujourd'hui, vous l'avez approuvé. Vous savez de quoi je parle? Oui. Est-ce que c'est le premier projet qui est adopté en vertu des règles provinciales de Colombie-Britannique?
Non, alors c'est le système de coopération que nous avons avec Colombie-Britannique. En anglais, on dit substitution. Et je pense que c'est un bon exemple de comment on peut bien travailler avec les provinces quand on dit one project, one review. C'est exactement ce qui est.
Mais est-ce que c'est la première fois?
Je ne pense que non.
Doing about Canadians in ICE detention. Can you tell us about how you serve? Is there any threat to the public in that situation?
It doesn't appear to be. At this point, I'm thankful for the work that's been undertaken. The threats were not credible from my understanding.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Carney, I have a question to you about Food Banks Canada. There's a report that says that food insecurity over the last 2 years and a quarter has increased by 40%, and a quarter of all Canadians do not have a food on a daily basis. What's your reaction? What's the government doing about this?
I mean, first of all, I haven't read the report yet. I understand it's being released this morning, so I will be reading it. I will say that, part of the solution, not the entire solution, is making sure that people can access food where they're at, which is why I think the National Food Program School Food Program is such a critical component in supporting families, and the other measures to address affordability that gives Canadians an opportunity to have more money in their pocket.
On Canada Post, will the government force Canada Post back to the bargaining table with the union?
Listen, those two parties have to get a deal together. Obviously, they've been negotiating for a very long time. This is important work that the employer has to do with its union. Thank you.
Thanks.
Paris on the... sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, let me talk and then I'll answer questions. Bonjour tout le monde, ça me fait plaisir d'être ici. Alors, une bonne rentrée, ça me fait plaisir de revenir à la Chambre des communes. Mon objectif est bien entendu de continuer à protéger des emplois alors qu'il y a plusieurs secteurs qui sont tarifés et en même temps d'en créer. Et on va le faire via notre stratégie de défense industrielle. Donc, entre-temps, ça me fait plaisir de répondre à vos questions in English. Donc, I'm happy to be back in the House of Commons. My job right now is to make sure that we can protect jobs, particularly in the sectors that are under tariffs, and at the same time that we can create jobs, and we can do that through our defense industrial strategy. So all that to say, I'm happy to be back and looking forward to answer your questions.
Will the government remove tariffs that we have on Chinese EVs in order to then get the tariffs that are on canola removed?
So, this is something that the Prime Minister has been looking at, which is basically how we can really be able to remove the pressure on our canola farmers. That being said, when it comes to EVs, you saw what we announced. First and foremost, we said that we will be lifting the ZAV mandates. Why? Because right now our auto sector is under really important U.S. tariffs, and it's hurting the industry. So we wanted to be able to help them deal with their liquidity issues, and we also came up with a strategic response fund to help the auto sector. And at the same time, what we said is that we would be taking 60 days to look at the ZAB mandates and also whether we're able to bring electric vehicles from different parts of the world, particularly, I must say, South Korea, Japan, and also Europe.
How does that
voir que les Canadiens n'ont pas eu de budget. Où est la transparence?
Ben ça, c'est une question que vous devez poser au ministre des Finances, mais ce que je peux vous dire, par contre, c'est qu'ils vont en avoir un cet automne.
On the tech takeover, I'd like to hear your comments on that and whether the government did tell Anglo American to move its headquarters to Vancouver.
So, when it comes to the possible transaction between Anglo and Tech, this is something that, of course, I'm looking very closely at. Why? Because obviously this will be done for the net benefit of Canadians. That's the first test. And the second test is this mergers of equals, like they say, must be according to our national security concerns and objectives, including economic security. Now, there have been conversations with the companies, and clearly we wanted to make sure that there would be a net benefit to Canada. But I think right now that it's not enough. We need to think about short term, and also we need to think about longer term. And how can we make sure that ultimately we create jobs, but we have a strong headquarter, not only now, but also for the next decade.
You mean not enough, that it's not enough?
We think that we need to have further conversations with the companies, and that's why I will be meeting next week with the two CEOs.
Will you meet with the CEO? Est-ce qu'on doit considérer que c'est un nouveau critère, cette idée que si vous voulez acheter des mines, même autre chose au Canada, il faut déménager au Canada?
Ben, premièrement, le critère est clair. Il faut que ce soit au bénéfice net du Canada. Il y a aussi un nouveau test qui a été ajouté au cours des derniers mois, qui est celui de la sécurité nationale, mais qui inclut la sécurité économique du pays. Et donc, c'est ça qu'on va regarder dans un contexte, dans le contexte de la transaction. Comme j'ai dit en anglais, on pense qu'il y a des choses sur la table qui ont été mises qui sont positives, mais on doit aller plus loin. Et moi, ma préoccupation présentement, dans le cadre de cette transaction-là, c'est pas juste les engagements à court terme, mais c'est vraiment à long terme, parce qu'on doit être capable, par exemple, de penser à plus long terme.
Why would you meet with the CEO to talk?
So right now, the issue is before the courts.
Minister, what about pathway? Are you prepared to put money into that project?
I'm sorry,
when do we expect your legislation?
Yeah, so there's likely multiple pieces of legislation. Which one are you referring to?
The first one that was supposed to be taken today on places of worship.
Oh, sure. So we so maybe just for the sake of those who are listening at home, we expect to have potentially several pieces of legislation during this fall sitting. The first that we intend to introduce will make good on the campaign commitments that we've put forward with respect to obstruction and intimidation of those attending religious institutions or buildings. We intend to take it a step further to address hate more broadly in our communities. We do expect it's going to be a matter of days before this legislation is put forward. The subsequent pieces of legislation dealing with bail reform, stiffer sentencing for serious crimes, as well as intimate partner violence, protecting kids online and supporting victims through the criminal trial process will come later in the fall. The bail and sentencing piece likely in the month of October, with the third piece potentially later. But there are ongoing conversations with House leadership just from a logistical point of view to figure out when the best time to table these.
How do you legislate hate more broadly, though, when you're talking about it? Because for the hate crime legislation, we're talking about places of worship, community centers. In Ottawa alone, we've had a hate crime at a grocery store, and a Muslim woman was attacked on a bus. How is your legislation even going to impact those types of hate crimes?
Look, I want to be a little bit careful out of respect for my parliamentary colleagues who are entitled to privilege to see the legislation first, but those are specifically the kinds of issues that we wanted to address. During our consultation with colleagues in caucus and communities more broadly over the course of the summer, one of the messages that I heard loud and clear is that hate is not limited to the steps of our synagogues, our churches, our temples, our mosques. It happens in real time for people in communities more more broadly. And we want to ensure that we reflect changes in the criminal law that will offer protection to people who are subjected to crimes of hate, no matter where they take place.
How is this going to be enforced? Sorry, just as a follow-up, how is this going to be enforced? Isn't enforcement going to be a problem?
Look, I will come back to enforcement in a minute, and sorry to shift gears. Sorry, can you just repeat the question?
Will this legislation include some of those hate crime provisions that were in the Online Harm Act?
This legislation, just to be clear, is not simply a reintroduction of the Online Harms Act. There are certain features that we will borrow, and to the extent that there were concerns raised around them, we are seeking to accommodate the very real concerns that we heard. But some of the provisions may reflect certain portions of that act, but this is not a wholesale reintroduction of a piece of legislation. It's a fundamentally different set of commitments that we've made during the campaign, specifically around crimes of hate, not more broadly online harms. There will be further work that we need to do to protect kids against exploitation online in the criminal context, but to the extent your question reflects other issues around online harms, some of my colleagues may be better positioned.
Mr. Fraser,
sorry, I did say I'd come back. Okay, you're good? Okay.
Minister Freeland, can you talk about stepping down today? Do you have an announcement to tell us?
Judge Robert, what's your government position? What are you going to do about it? Bloc is asking for him to for you to cancel his nomination.
OK, alors, je suis courant dans la situation, mais il y a un défi de la décision maintenant. Ce n'est pas approprié pour moi d'engager dans les mérites de la casse quand un défi existe dans les cours. Mais en même temps, j'ai beaucoup de respect pour le processus qui est indépendant. Quand le gouvernement a reçu des recommandations, c'est possible pour avancer. L'individuel dans ce cas, c'est très impressif, mais j'ai beaucoup de trust.
Confiance.
J'ai beaucoup de confiance dans le processus.
Je peux vous demander sur la criminalité des jeunes. Encore aujourd'hui à Toronto, un jeune de 12 ans qui aurait tué un sans-abri avec un marteau.
Oui.
On voit, me semble-t-il, de plus en plus de ces cas-là. Selon vous, est-ce qu'il est temps de revoir peut-être la loi sur la justice des jeunes contrevenants?
OK, c'est difficile pour moi en français, mais
go in English because it's going to be easier for you.
Look, these cases are absolute tragedies, including the one that you've referred to, and the idea that there would be an adult person engaged with a young person promoting this kind of just horrendous violence is just so unacceptable and needs to be addressed with very serious consequences in the criminal context. Also, when it comes to young offenders, we can't shy away from the fact that when people commit absolutely reprehensible behavior, take the life of another person, that we obviously need to have serious consequences, but we also need to turn our mind to the fact that we need to consider the long-term public safety interest and ensure that we take decisions that down the road are not going to create more violent individuals. These are extremely complex. The facts of individual cases will change what a reasonable decision maker in a court would make in the unique context. But when I first see news coverage this morning of these kinds of just horrific crimes, my first thoughts are about the loved ones of the people impacted and the need to address serious, morally culpable behavior.
But I guess the question is, do you see the need of changing law, or you think the law in itself is okay to deal with those situations?
Look, it's an interesting question about the law. We should always be reflecting changes in our society in the laws that we adopt. The Living Tree Doctrine is literally recognized by the Supreme Court. The law is not written in stone forever and a day. To the extent that life changes, that values change, that facts on the grounds introduce new challenges that the law hasn't contemplated, we should always be in a context where we seek to revise. I don't want to be late. He starts on time every week, guys. Thank you.
Well, listen, there was an incident yesterday involving 3 commercial aircraft. What it indicates, I think, for us, what it should indicate for Canadians, is that NORAD did its job, and it did it very, very well. Fighter jets were scrambled. There was a bomb threat, I understand. The RCMP is now in charge of the file. They have taken control of the situation, and all seems to be fine. But I think it's important for us to remember that this binational command and the system at NORAD worked for us very, very well.
What are the nature of the bomb threats, though? Are there other concerns for Canadian aircraft?
Il semblerait qu'elle quitterait le cabinet pour aller en Ukraine, pour aller comme envoyée canadienne en Ukraine. Est-ce que vous êtes au courant de ça?
Non, pas du tout.
Okay.
Pas du tout, la première fois que j'entends.
Ça vient de sortir.
Ah.
C'est pas, je ne l'ai pas confirmé, moi.
I wish her well. Je la souhaite. Si c'est le cas, c'est une femme extraordinaire.
Est-ce que vous pensez
je pense qu'elle va faire un travail extraordinaire.
C'est une bonne décision pour l'envoyer en Ukraine?
Je pense que c'est une décision personnelle.
But as Defense Minister, what would you think about a special envoy to Ukraine, and if Minister Freeland were to take that on?
I think continuing our strong relationship with Ukraine is very important. I think that we continue to show leadership in the region, and I think that we have to remember that the threat landscape in the Ukrainian theater of war is serious, that the Russians are not pulling back, that we watch through their conduct that they're not the most trustworthy of countries. The president there is not trustworthy in terms of his comments. You can't take much of what he's saying at face value, and therefore we have to be on guard.
Would Minister Freeland be the right person for that? Would Minister Freeland be the right person for that?
I can't answer that question. She's an extraordinary person, and if Minister Freeland wants to serve in that capacity, I think she would do a wonderful job.
On est en train de négocier avec les États-Unis, avec l'Ukraine, peut-être avec la Russie pour un cessez-le-feu, pour avoir des garanties de sécurité. Et là, on envoie Mme Freeland, qui n'est pas une amie de M. Poutine et qui n'est pas une amie de M. Trump. Est-ce qu'on n'est pas en train de se mettre à dos des partenaires essentiels dans ces négociations?
Non, ça prend une présence sérieuse, quelqu'un avec le talent nécessaire. La chose la plus importante, je pense, qu'il faut se rappeler, que c'est important de continuer à avoir un dialogue. Hein? Comme ma mère m'a dit le jour de mes noces, the most important thing in your marriage, keep talking. Donc je pense avec tout ce qui arrive ces jours-ci dans la région, c'est une question d'avoir un dialogue sérieux, avec une personne sérieuse.
And on the nature of the bomb threat,
Am I sorry?
are you planning to go to DC again anytime soon?
I'm looking at that.
On the nature of the bomb threat, is there a threat to any other Canadian aircraft?
Not to my knowledge.
Les F-35, vous aviez prévu avoir... Vous voulez pas sur les F-35?
Sorry.
Could we buy from, like, 6 from Hanwha and 6 from TKMS? Is that possible? Is that something that...
Listen, I'm not managing the details of the procurement of that important decision, but we have narrowed it down from 5 to 2. That was a very big decision. Two manufacturers and suppliers that can seemingly meet our needs. That'll be looked at by PSPC, be looked at by our defense officials, by our operational needs, by our Navy folks. And so therefore, there's much more to say about that in due course.
Sur les F-35,
Oui.
vous aviez un mandat de réviser le contrat. Où est-ce que vous en êtes là?
De réviser le contrat, non.
Donc, oui, l'achat.
On est en train de poursuivre, le ministère est en train de poursuivre une revue. Ça continue. Vous m'avez déjà entendu là-dessus. You heard me in this before. The F-35 review is continuing. I have nothing else to say at
Do
this
you have a
stage.
timeline on when you'll make a decision?
I've got nothing else to say about this, folks. We'll have more to say about this in due course.
Is the Block 4 issue included in the review? The F-35 Block 4 issue that was highlighted by U.S.
I can't get into those details. That's in the hands right now of our officials. Thank you, folks.
Just quickly, the defense industrial strategy, how far along are you? What more work? What more do you
We're
need to
making
do?
progress. We've canvassed many Canadian companies. We've looked at other jurisdictions. We've looked at what's worked, what hasn't worked. We're looking at cooperation in terms of research and development as well. So we're well on the way. I think we're going to be launching this hopefully in the fall.
In the fall. Okay, so you think sometime in the fall?
I'm hopeful. Hopefully, yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Good. Thank you.
Hi. I want to make sure you're aware of a very important development yesterday. Yesterday, Canada and British Columbia approved the Silas and LNG project in the northwest of British Columbia. This will be one of the largest private sector investments in the history of Canada. This is a perfect example of one project, one review in action, where the Canadian government relied on the BC government for an assessment of this project. That assessment is complete, and they are ready to build. It is also a culmination of years of advocacy by Chief Clayton and the Nisga'a Nation. Congratulations to the Nisga'a Nation, and we look forward to seeing this project built. The world is relying on Canada for clean energy. We're going to make sure that happens. Thank you very much. I need to get to
How are you? Mickey here with Politico.
Are we having any? Are you planning to talk? Yes. Are you planning to bring forward an AI bill this fall?
Yeah, I've said very publicly that we are working on the privacy and data legislation, which was called C-27, which died in the House, but that we are working towards steps to reintroduce not the full bill, but part of it.
But this fall.
We hope. That's part of the agenda.
And it's just going to deal with privacy and...
Privacy and data and some other targeted...
As it relates to AI?
Yeah.
And are you borrowing from the previous bill?
As I said, we're working with some of the work that was done on the previous bill, especially in Part 1 and 2 on C-27. That's what I've said publicly. And so we are working with stakeholders right now on that.
And you have a new policy guy. I guess what are the priorities in the coming months as you shape policy around
My new
AI?
policy guy,
Yeah.
Michael Paramathison?
Yes.
Well, the policies, and by the way, I'll be outlining more of those next week. We have the All-In conference in Montreal. I would be delighted to do an interview there at the All-In conference in Montreal. And then I'll do a follow-on speech. But as we've said, our policies on AI are going to be rolling out specifically around, as the Prime Minister has talked a lot about, not just on the adoption side, on some of the legislative priorities, but on the sovereign cloud and sovereign data side. So we'll be talking lots more about that.
Strong regulations of AI?
There'll be, as I just said, we are preparing legislation on the privacy and data side to protect Canadians' privacy and Canadians' data, which we've talked about really importantly, and making sure that consumers and key constituencies, children, are part of that, but we make sure that we find that balance between innovation, which is really important, but also the protection. So that's exactly why C-27 was part of that, and we'll be building on some of the work that we did there on Part 1 and 2 on the privacy and data side.
How soon will it come?
Well, we're hoping sometime late fall at the table. Okay?
What's Freeland's legacy is going to be as someone who covered her and worked with her now?
I'll let her do the press. Thanks.
Thank you.